Cool. So my game is Twin Stick Towers. It's basically a game concept on let's say like a twin stick shooter or a twin stick RPG mixed with traditional like action RPG aspects of more abilities and power-ups, etc. Yeah, it's going to be a cyberpunk themed genre. Um, games that I've used as reference for my games, like games such as RPG, such as Diablo 2, Path of Exile, that sort of feel for the game, except there'll be roguelike elements such as power-ups that only last through certain runs that you play. Yeah, target audience for my game is going to be primarily, it's going to be quite a violent game, so it'll be 18 and upwards, and also quite in-depth and challenging, and a lot to try to figure out for yourself. And more than there won't be many tutorials, and there'll be a lot of aspects in the game that you'll have to be left to just figure out by yourself. And yeah, the game will be instance-based, so you will go from, instead of being open world, you'll go from area to area, and areas will be they will last and be created for a certain amount of time before they go down, where you can just do what you need to do in that area, and as long as you're in that area, it'll stay up. You can come back to any areas at any point in time to redo them and complete challenges that you missed in areas, kill bosses that you've already killed, to acquire loot that will only drop from those bosses. The look and feel of the game, I really like the Borderlands sort of art style, so the hand-painted textures is kind of what I'm going for. As well as games such as Xenowork and then Path of Exile, by Grinding Games. Characters, will be a male and female. They'll both be, so the theme of the game is basically it's a totalitarian society where human beings are being controlled by a force that's not really known, but there's people at the front of it, but there's forces behind that aren't really understood, and everybody's sort of brainwashed, and then certain people have managed to break free of being brainwashed and captive, and they're now starting a rebellion to try free human race of this trap that they're in. Enemies will be range from, the characters will be like a male who has previous military training before this all happened, and he would have escaped, and the same applies for the female. They both have skills in networking and programming, so they can hack into systems that are used to survey and analyze a society, so they can do what they need to do. Enemies will largely be like robots, other human beings, and things that aren't really understood, like alien sort of beings. They won't exactly be difficult enemies to fight, as you're kind of going to fight a lot of them, so they'll be swarming you from more angles, and more like the action RPG style. Friendly NPCs will be NPCs that you'll see in the other world that are fighting with you and that you can trade and sell gear with. Some of them will be there to teach you skills for crafting, and you just can generally obtain supplies that you need to fight for them. Game progression starts with a tutorial level, which can be skipped once it's completed the first time. During this tutorial level, the player will just basically learn how to control the character, all the basics of the game, use his abilities, and just get the general feel of the game before it progresses on. The mission and challenge structure. The players will have like a few central hubs in town, so if you played any game like Path of Exile, Diablo 3, Diablo 2, you have a certain amount of, you go to areas, and each act or stage in the game has its own town, and you'll have that sort of feel to it where you can stock up, get gear, craft gear, etc. Mechanics. Physics will just be like real world physics, so when you get hit, they slide across the floor as hard as they get hit, etc. Movements in the game will be controlled by 2 joysticks, so like the twin stick shooter. When it's used with a controller or a mouse and keyboard, you'll use WASD to move around and your mouse to look around, just so your character will always be facing towards your mouse. There'll be 4 consumable items which the player can use, and also a hotkey to any key position they please. There'll be objects to obtain in the game, such as echoes, which give memories of what's going on, or echoes give memories of stuff that's going on in the world. Vendor machines to obtain items, gear, and stuff from. When the player interacts with objects on the floor, a UI will pop up telling the player that they can pick this up or use it or whatever. Actions, most of this game is very combat orientated, and in between you'll just be buying and selling items, restocking. There's not much out of the game except for that, really. Some actions. In combat, there'll be 3 classes. There'll be Soldier, who will primarily use guns and explosives to do what he needs to do. He does this with careful planning, though. Infiltrator lays traps and tries to deal damage and get out quickly. A telepath can manipulate technology and people to their will. Each playstyle and class will have access to the same items and skills. However, each class will have their own special class ability, like in Borderlands, which is obviously only available for that class, and there will be class mods that can help them buff this ability. Economy will just be a simple silver or gold crafting system. Currency is not really yet decided on. That'll just to be purchasing and trading with armors and weapons and consumables. And for more rare and legendary items, there'll be a special currency it will be quite rare to find, but you can trade for it and everything as well. Screen flow will just start with the intro of the logo of the game company. Main menu will be like a parallax effect sort of view, like in Skyrim's main menu, where you can feel like it zoom in. And yeah, menu flow just continues from where the last save was. New game, starts a new character, load, allows the player to choose a character to load from. With the difficulty, there will be 3 difficulty settings, but you'll only be able to choose the next difficulty once you've completed a difficulty previous to that. Profile stats just allows the player to see how many monsters they've killed through their various playthroughs, not specific to any character achievements. Will just be achievements that you can complete and acquire cosmetic items for completing them. Options, just obviously bring up your general display options. Quit exits the game. Look and feel mentioned previously, it was Cyberpunk with the sort of futuristic edge and a Borderlands art style, hand-painted art style. Levels, the story isn't really completely thought out yet, so there will be, however, a prologue mission which will show the player escaping and getting into the current situation he finds himself in through the story. HUD will just be very simple, displaying health bars and energy bars. Menus will only be displayed when the game is paused. It's a control system for both keyboard and mouse and controller. Help system, there will be a help system that's very basic and active by default, but you can turn it off. There will also be tips in between, like loading screens, like in many RPGs. AI, like I previously mentioned, will be fairly simple because there will be a lot of them. However, as you go on through the game, there will be enemies that are more difficult with attack patterns that you'll need to become accustomed to and learn to fight against. Neutral and friendly NPCs will be NPCs that are helping you fight to free humanity, and these NPCs will also be located in towns and hideouts where you could trade with them, sell gear, and sometimes you'll see other friendly soldiers fighting on the battlefield. The game will be developed using Unity game engine, Blender for character and asset creation. The target platform is Windows, PC, and Linux. The games will be developed in mid-range gaming rigs. There will be no network configuration required. However, host-based multiplayer is an option. Some concept art that I did for the game, just what I would like my props to look like, UI, something, and my environment. And yeah.